In amongst all the war and death that punctuated the ascent of humankind on this insignificant little planet of ours, there have been a series of singular points in time that changed everything for Homo sapiens. The discovery of fire, for instance, is one such turning point. Firstly, it enabled us to live in places that were cold, and we were able to move away from the warm savannah and spread our virus like presence all over the world. But secondly, it meant that we could cook our meat, and this, so the current scientific wisdom suggests, meant our brains were able to become far larger than our rather weedy little frames should ordinarily have allowed. The development over 500,000 years ago of human engineered structures meant that we could move out of caves and create settlements wherever it suited us best. On a hill for defence, or next to a river for drinking water, for instance. And then there was the creation of tools. Tools improved our hunting and grazing abilities and enabled us to create clothing to keep us warm and to protect us from the elements and from hostile forces. I would argue that ever since an early ancestor of Homo sapiens created the first tool, our species has been on a single-minded mission to make life, yes, better, but also to make life easier. Doing stuff easier is as much a part of our species' core programming as the urge to procreate. It is in our nature, embedded in our DNA, to seek out and exploit easy mode wherever it can be found, whether it's to facilitate that core capitalist imperative of increased profits, or simply a basic desire to save time in order to do something more interesting. We spend an inordinate amount of time trying to make our lives easier. And when it comes to core human activities, this endless search for easier, quicker, better ways of doing life is mostly fine. Nobody ever complained because a hospital was built too quickly. But if I might take you back to the start of this little thesis of mine, we need to shine the spotlight on one other singular plot on the graph charting humankind's evolution. Creativity. No other organism on this planet displays creativity the way that humans do. Creativity is an integral part of the story of the human species because it marks the boundaries between doing what is necessary for survival and what is simply fulfilling. From those early days when we huddled around a fire in a cave, we expressed ourselves by interpreting our lives on the stone with charcoal, soot, and ochre. As we evolved, creativity became a core constituent of the human existence. Whether it's creativity for its own sake or paid for commercial work, it's a central part of our identity. Our modes of expression evolved alongside us, from simple pictograms on cave walls to the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. But from the beginning, what made creativity so incredible, apart from the fact that it felt good down in the core of the soul, was that it was nearly always hard. Sure, some people are lucky enough to be born with an innate ability to draw or to write, but most people are not. They just work at it. And even if someone does have a natural talent, that doesn't necessarily mean they can create art faster or easier. It just means the end result might be better. We respect the craft and the graft that comes from being creative. The hours, days and years spent practicing an instrument, the failed novels collecting dust in teenage notebooks, the dodgy misshapen scribbles that began the journey to becoming an artist. The struggle is a crucial part of what makes creativity so important. We admire it because it is hard to do the same way we marvel at great sportsmen and women. I'd argue that without the struggle, creativity is not so much irrelevant as vacuous. It becomes a barren and unfulfilling void. The time that was expended by a person on any creative skill is evident in the work. The graft is what makes it vital. It's what gives it life and import and value. But also, the graft helps define the artist's style. Without a creative journey, a personal style cannot develop. The wrong turns, the mistakes, and the changes of heart can be seen in every paint stroke, pencil line, or word. Creativity that requires no graft has no value. Creativity derived from the glorified random number generators that are AI machine learning generative systems has no value. Yet here we are on the cusp of another inflection point in human history, gleefully surrendering our creativity to the matrix. Having learnt nothing from our species' woeful history, we seem intent on abandoning the last vestiges of our humanity and capitulating to the machine. Remember 6 months ago when everyone laughed at the mid-journey dall-e and stable diffusion renders of big-titted warrior princesses with 6-fingered hands and wonky-looking eyes? Have you seen what those systems can do now? Have we really become so addicted to easy mode that we'll get the machines to do the novels, the films, the poetry, the illustrations, the photos, and the music, and we'll be the self-service supermarket checkout supervisors? Nothing illustrates the nightmarish epoch we find ourselves in than the get-rich-quick snake oil salesmen and women on TikTok. The entire process of creativity is being codified and automated, and incredibly, people seem excited about it. With every new development, every advance in quality or scope, we clap and cheer from the back rooms of the internet. The hopelessly naive champions of this facile automated creativity are so lost in the fact that they can that they never stop to consider if they should. The skills of the artist have been codified, ranked, analysed, digitised and condensed into computer models that can blend its input data set and do a pretty good impression of a human. But let's not kid ourselves here. The system itself is utterly devoid of creativity. Presented with a few billion pieces of blank paper during the training process, how far would these systems have got? These diffusion models are only able to disgorge artwork onto our screens thanks to the millions of creative humans who unknowingly and almost certainly unwillingly seeded the data vaults. Did you like the thumbnail for this video? That was created in the latest version of dall-e. The prompt said, create a vibrant YouTube video thumbnail for a video talking about how AI systems are killing creativity. I thought it'd be amusing to ask an AI system to critique itself. So I hit the enter key. I wondered if the machine would roll its generative eyes at me and just render a picture of a hand flipping the bird. It got the text wrong, but it wasn't far off. I'm pretty sure they'll have nailed it for the next iteration. Things like YouTube thumbnails are an interesting test case, of course, because it's not something you'd ordinarily farm out to a designer. Are there some use cases so staggeringly boring that we're happy to let the machines do the heavy lifting? But where do we draw the line? So-called AI does, of course, take many forms, and some of the developed systems, such as machine learning tools trained to spot cancerous cells in body scans, should be defended. The ocean cleanup team used an AI system to track the locations of large buildups of plastic in the oceans and then targeted them for removal. Merlin Bird ID uses machine learning to identify bird species by their sounds. This helps ornithologists track bird populations and therefore to support conservation efforts. Blue River Technology created an AI-powered weed-killing machine that reduces herbicide use in agriculture by a staggering 90%, while simultaneously increasing productivity. That's the kind of AI I can get behind. But creativity, no matter what form it takes, is a whole different matter. And particularly when it comes to the use of creative work in a commercial setting, we are already close to a tipping point. It's amazing how quickly generative tools have been built into commercially available software. Adobe added a generative fill tool to Photoshop that took the world by storm, and now they've rolled out a version of Illustrator with a generative tool that can create vector objects. If you have the artistic abilities of a Satsuma, then such tools are of course a game changer. No longer do you have to pay someone to make your logos and illustrations or download an EPS from a stock library. Now you can just describe what you want and Illustrator will make a unique design just for you. You can even copy the style of existing artworks with a generative eyedropper tool. It's a powerful tool that is certain to be embraced by both business and non-commercial Adobe customers. But the question is this: if everyone just uses AI, what happens to the skill of illustration? It's not hyperbole to suggest that Adobe have just toppled the first domino that will lead to the annihilation of the livelihoods of millions of artists who earn a living creating logos and illustrations. Are we prepared to give up on skills like illustration forever? If you were just leaving school and considering what course to take at college, knowing all of this, would you seriously opt for something like graphic design? Would you do so knowing that there are tools like this now and that those tools are only going to get better and better? As we stare in awe at the capabilities of Adobe Illustrator's generative design tools, our endless search for that easy mode will have profound impacts on the art schools and colleges. So, fine, the number of graphic design courses offered worldwide will plummet. So what? I see one glaring issue. How are these systems going to evolve if the people making the source material for their data sets cease to exist? The systems will cease to evolve, won't they? How can they reflect modern design trends if the humans who set those design trends aren't designing anymore? Or will the machines simply set the design trends and we'll just accept that because, progress? As the pool of original material shrinks, so does the repertoire of generative and machine learning systems. When you copy a videotape again and again and again, eventually you end up with a thin veneer of static and beige waveforms. Once these systems begin churning out the same shit day after day, will companies like Adobe employ humans to create new original artworks to feed these machines? Is that the future for the worldwide army of graphic designers and illustrators? To generate original works using actual human creativity merely so it can be regurgitated in a slightly different way by a robot? Soylent Green is made out of people.
Soylent Green is made out of people.
And it turns out all of your forthcoming content will be too. Our endless quest for that easy mode has so many ramifications, and we love easy mode so much that we rarely stop to consider the outcomes. Easy mode is slowly but surely impacting every strand, sector and sphere of creativity. YouTube's one of the most creative hubs on the planet right now. It's buzzing with ideas and concepts and people's visions of the world. But for how much longer? Did you know that you can now fully automate an entire, apparently profitable, YouTube channel? ChatGPT or one of the other generative pre-trained transformers can identify a niche, pinpoint a marketing strategy, come up with a list of ideas for content, create that content, and then, using a service like Canva, shit out 1,000 videos with AI-generated voiceovers all ready to be uploaded to YouTube. I like watching YouTube, but I have no desire whatsoever to consume such sterile content. It's going to become insufferable on here when content creators quit creating content and get AI to do it instead. What are Squarespace, Audible and NordVPN going to sponsor? ChatGPT? Wherever you look, human creativity is under assault from machine learning systems. AI-based tools such as Plot and AI screenplay tool are precisely the reason that the Hollywood Writers Union went on strike. The developers of Plot aren't being shy about it either. Right there on their homepage, it says Plot acts as a catalyst, filling the void in talent and expertise within the film industry. Its innovative features offer a creative extension, ensuring that a scarcity of human resources does not compromise the quality and diversity of scripts. Filling the void in talent and expertise. What the actual fuck? And also, scarcity of human resources. Since when has there been a scarcity of scriptwriters? You can't throw a Satsuma in Los Angeles, Mumbai or Elstree without scoring a bullseye in the chai latte of a scriptwriter's reusable coffee cup. Career advisors are sure going to have to switch things up. Now then, Tom, you've said you want to be a scriptwriter when you leave school, but you keep failing remedial English. Don't you worry your pretty little head about not having any talent or expertise, though. The machines will make up for your complete lack of talent in the domains of idea creation, story plotting, and writing. And of course, there won't be need for any human actors because AI can generate them too. The Oscars is going to look very different, isn't it? No celebrities anymore, just a load of Gucci-themed laptops on those red velvet chairs. Is this a world we really want to be in? I realise that actors are usually the centres of their own orbits and can be narcissistic, self-centred egoists, but I still take them over some fake simulacrum dreamt up by an algorithm. In actuality, and contrary to the 18-karat gold bullshit claimed by the Plot team, the need to work at a creative school means that there is a natural scarcity of resources, which is entirely appropriate. But when any clueless schlub can shit out a 120-page screenplay by sticking a few keywords in a text prompt, we're going to be overrun. The actual inventive scripts by actual humans will be fighting for attention amongst hundreds of thousands of computer-generated fever dreams being flogged off for pennies. Scarily, I've seen plenty of comments from people suggesting that these AI systems are a good thing and that these systems will do a better job than humans. I sat down and watched The Meg 2 with Jason Statham last night, and while it was a hilariously awful movie in pretty much every single way, I'll still take it, Morbius, Geostorm, Gotti and the Emoji Movie over literally anything created by AI. The forthcoming oversupply of generative screenplays will swiftly lead to the complete devaluation of the product, as has already happened with photography. No matter what creative pursuit you analyse, easy mode is changing everything. Even porn has been computerised. Any kink or niche, no matter how weird or depraved or boring or illegal, can be emulated in volume on demand. The tits and asses were fake anyway. Now all they've done is go one step further. No need to pay for an OnlyFans subscription when you can perfectly target whatever sexy kink you're into. And no need to wait for OnlyFans creators to release new content. Just generate your own fake material for the wank bank whenever you feel something stirring down below. No corner of the creative universe is safe from AI and the curse of easy mode. Digital technology revolutionized music making and made it possible for anyone to write, produce and release their own original works without the need for a studio or a record company. That was a good thing because it truly democratized the music industry. But just like everything else, this niche is under assault from easy mode music algorithms. Just fire up Ableton, pick a tempo and have a generative music tool. Create melodies, beats, bass lines and hooks. The speed with which human creativity is being undermined is breathtaking. Photography is under increasing threat from generative image systems. I've been teaching myself to use stable diffusion, not because I'm invested in its possibilities, but because I want to understand it. Like Rage Against the Machine said, and they should know with a name like that, know your enemy. Every time some new feature comes along for stable diffusion, such as SDXL or ControlNet, I install it and test it to see how close I can get to my own photography. I need to know and to understand what I'm up against. partly because it makes it much easier to spot the bullshitters. My great creative outlet is landscape photography, and while software like Stable Diffusion can already create semi-realistic imagery, the locations are all entirely fake. When, and note I'm not saying if, some bright spark marries GIS, geographic information systems, with elevation and weather data and adds it to something like Stable Diffusion, it's game over, man. The appetite for this creative easy mode is everywhere, and we're already at the point of no return. The outputs from these systems, which came to life thanks entirely to the graft skills and imaginations of human beings, are inexorably replacing our accomplishments. Their origins lie in the illustrations, photographs, paintings, and books of real humans, but the outputs are mere echoes. It's the infinite monkey theorem, trained and encoded to tempt and delight. We're automating the one thing that differentiates us from every other living entity on this planet. People who do not value true creativity will always opt for easy mode, and you don't have to spend too long on YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok to see this for yourself. But if enough of us decide to opt out of the artificial outputs of machine learning systems, then there's still a chance we can learn to live alongside AI. The strikes in Hollywood were triggered by the global media industry's uncivilized willingness to embrace machine-made content. The strikes from Hollywood's writers and actors have been a welcome pushback against a sterile, vacuous, soulless future in which we irresponsibly surrender our individuality. Imaginative pursuits, whether they are considered artistic or not, used to require hard work, skills, artistry, and talent. But thanks to AI, easy mode has now been enabled and creativity has been computerized for the everything is content era. The fear is that we will quickly become reliant upon AI and grasp, only when it's far too late to do anything about it, just how important real human creativity is. We risk destroying a creative lineage that goes back over 500,000 years. And if we decide to give in now to outsource our species' only redeeming characteristic, then I believe we fully deserve every one of the trillions of dull fucking seconds that will follow.